Hey, what's going on? I'm here to give my thoughts on the new Jurassic World movie. I decided this is a new thing I'm going to be doing. It just kind of makes sense. I see a lot of movies now given my new lifestyle. So I figured I'd just kind of pop in every now and then and be like, hey, is this a good movie? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So, Jurassic World Dominion, I believe, is the title of the movie. At face value, just looking at it at face value, pretty decent. I think if you go in with the expectation that, I'm gonna see dinosaurs, you won't be disappointed because, spoiler alert, the movie has dinosaurs. But when you look beyond that, the whole thing just kind of falls apart. Now, we will be getting into some spoiler territory. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, probably stop watching now. Go watch it if you decide you want to. Come back and continue from here on out. Because we are going to get into some spoiler territory. So, that being said, the whole premise of the movie is that there is this evil corporation who purposefully designed these locusts, or crickets, or whatever you want to call them, that are like genetically enhanced, and they go out and they eat all the world's food supply, or that's like the idea, right? But they don't eat the food that is planted from seeds that are provided by the same company. So the idea is like, hey, if we release these guys, we can provide the only food that they won't touch. So we'll have full control of the food supply. Which, I mean, it's a pretty good plan in that respect, but also like feels a bit out of place for a Jurassic movie. But anyway, that it gets worse from there. So they release the crickets. That's a whole thing. And then there's people on the inside of this corporation who have decided, hey, maybe this wasn't a good idea. We probably shouldn't have done this. We got to find a way to fix it. And apparently, the way to fix it is that they need DNA from one of the main protagonists, which I'll get into that in a second, and a very specific dinosaur. Now, the movie goes on to say that this protagonist in particular was born from a previous character in the series who is now deceased, and that they are an exact copy of this character, because they were produced asexually, so there was no other partner involved. It was just one. So that alone raises a whole lot of questions, but, sure, whatever. It's sci-fi. I'll let that slide. But the reason why this character is so important to the plot, according to, like, the quote-unquote bad guys, is that she was not only made a direct copy of her mother, but her mother genetically altered her in such a way that she wouldn't have the disease that she had. So she's a direct copy, aside the fact that she doesn't have the disease her mother had. And then the dinosaur that I mentioned was also produced asexually from Blue, one of the dinosaurs from the previous Jurassic World movies. You know, the dinosaur trainer guy. You know, he had that dinosaur. That one had a child that was also produced asexually. And they briefly explain how that happened in the movie. But yeah, so one of the guys at the corporation is like, hey, if I can get her DNA and I can get the dinosaur's DNA and I can study them, I can understand how their DNA was changed and altered, purposefully. And with that information, I can then alter one of the crickets' DNA so that I can release it into the population, and then it will reproduce with the other crickets, and the resulting offspring will not be able to survive. So that's their whole plan to stop the crickets. And they do accomplish that at the end of the movie. But that raises a whole lot of questions, and it also... So here's the thing. They release one cricket. Okay, one that has this genetically altered gene. And the whole movie, the movie is led you to believe that, like, these crickets need to be rid of, like, immediately, or it's just going to be, like, an all-out global crisis. But see, the thing about that is their plan, we're going to release this one cricket, and assuming that cricket doesn't die or have anything happen to it before it's able to accomplish its goal, again, one cricket, it is going to reproduce with the rest of the swarm, and their resulting offspring will not be able to survive. Now, the problem with this is, one, that's assuming that the entire swarm only breeds with this one cricket. Two, that this one cricket is able to live long enough to do that. And three, you still have to wait for the current generation of crickets to die. So you're not getting rid of them. You're just preventing them from creating more. So, realistically, the way they resolve the issue in the movie wouldn't have resolved anything. So, it kind of falls apart when you think of it like that. And then there's a couple other plot lines. I think one of my friends described it best, that the movie is basically Taken, but with dinosaurs. And what I mean by that is, like, the girl and the dinosaur are stolen, and the other protagonists of the movie got to get them back, right? So they're spending the whole movie trying to track them down and get them back. So it's literally the plot of Taken, but with dinosaurs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't feel like it should have been a Jurassic movie. There's a couple other things that happen, like, there's a whole scene where, like, all of the main characters are together, and they're trying to escape, and everything's on fire, and there's this big dinosaur coming after them, and you're fully expecting somebody's gonna die here, right? Because it's a Jurassic movie. Not all of the main characters are gonna survive, surely, but no, they do. No, they all survive. There's one part where Jeff Goldblum's character looks like he's gonna sacrifice himself to save the rest of the group. and we're like, oh, they're gonna kill him off, and then they don't. They're just like, oh no, he survives, and I'm not saying you have to kill off the cast for it to be a good movie, but I feel like it's expected in a Jurassic movie that there's going to be deaths, right? You know, dinosaurs killing people, people killing people, like it's expected. And for the most part, it doesn't really happen in this movie. Like, I feel like the amount of characters that actually die, whether they be main characters, whether they be just side characters, background characters, I feel like I could probably count all of them on one hand. Like, there wasn't that many. So, I don't know. It just felt like they were trying to be like, oh hey, here's all the main characters, we're gonna kill some of them, and then they just didn't go through with it, for one reason or another. And there's also like some stuff with some of the direction with the movie, and I don't necessarily blame the actors themselves for this. Most of the actors, I felt, did a really good job in their roles. But there's like, I forget the character's name, but the raptor trainer from like the previous Jurassic World movies, like pretty much every scene he's in, he's just like stoically standing there being like he's trying to like use some sort of like Jedi mind trick or something on like the dinosaurs. He's like, fucking swipe or no swiping, fucking like dinosaur no killing, right? He just kind of stands there with his hand out, and it happens multiple times throughout the movie. And I get it, like, he's the dinosaur trainer, he's like, ooh, he's special, he can connect with them, whatever. The whole thing just felt very silly. Like, you do it once in the movie, okay, cool, whatever. But, like, almost, it felt like every other scene he was in, he was just doing this. Right? Like, whoa there. Right? I felt like they leaned into that a bit too much. And then there's a whole scene where the girl does it, and, like, it works immediately. And everybody's like, wow, she can, you know, communicate with the dinosaurs or whatever. And it's like, this dude's been doing it the entire movie. Why is it a surprise that someone else can also hold their hand out like this? Right? I don't know. It's dumb. A lot of the plot points, if you think about them beyond what's presented at face value, it all just falls apart. Overall, not a bad movie. I think it's an enjoyable experience, but I feel like they wanted to do a bunch of different things with this movie, and they tried to do all of them instead of like, and what happened was, instead of like doing one really good thing with the movie, they did like 50 passable things with the movie. So overall, not a terrible movie. I feel like some of the previous ones were better. I'd give it like a solid like 6 out of 10. If I'm being honest, it's just like slightly above average. But that's it. So I will catch y'all later.